Well, what's up, folks? Here we are. It's Sunday, game day, of course, for the Eagles. It starts in about another hour and a half. So we are here live with you on pregame. Yesterday was a great show with TJ Jones. We thank him from State of the Saints podcast. We had a lot of fun with TJ. Very, very good guy as far as tons of knowledge, not only about the Saints, but around the NFL as well. So we had a great time with TJ, and we saw the show afterwards. So anyone that, of course, that subscribed to our channel through YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, go over to TJ's Saints of the Podcast and take a look at his show and subscribe as well, because he did a tremendous, tremendous show. So we thank you, TJ, for coming on with us. Today, of course, we have episode 21, and it is going to be absolutely giant-packed as we have not only Gregg Murphy, the voice of the Phillies. Of course, things happen in 2020 where Gregg is no longer with NBC, but Gregg will be joining us here shortly live, along with the man himself that the voice, and especially if you hear the intro, you know exactly what we're talking about. John Barchard is on with us as well. He has joined us and will be joining us here very, very shortly. So thank you to both of those guys. And again, it was just a fantastic show yesterday. So again, it is episode 21. We are live here. I'm Angel with Broad Street South Sports Talk. My co-host and sports contributor will be on very shortly. And as we always say, please feel free to comment during the show. And I already see comments coming up. So thank you guys for making the comments. Thank you also to everyone that makes the show successful. The viewers, without you guys, we want to have a show. And if you guys ever want to reach out to us, and whether it's show suggestion or someone that that may want to come on to the show, reach out to us at Broad Street South Sports Talk at gmail.com. And of course, the street is hyphenated, so it would be Broad ST South Sports Talk at gmail.com. So we will begin the show started here underway. And again, thank you to everyone who tuned into episode 20 yesterday. It's been a action-packed weekend, and today will be just about the same. So with that all being said, I'm Angel, and let's get going. So, of course, we know the controversy's been all around the Eagles this week. It's been talked about on ESPN, Fox, and everywhere else. And of course, we talked about it yesterday as well. So, of course, to add more to the comments and everything else that's going on, my co-host, Mike Fuji. Mikey. How's it going, Mikey?
Week 14. The new era of Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. The rookie is starting, and sure he's ready to rock and confident. He looked in practice earlier this week, so we'll see what he brings to the table tonight.
Well, we shall see exactly what ends up happening. Of course, the other person that likes to get Mike going just a little bit, the guru himself, the sports contributor, Mike Sherman. Mike, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, gentlemen. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me just say this. The New Orleans Saints are playing their third game in a row on the road today, and next week they play the Kansas City Chiefs, which might be a Super Bowl preview. So I ask you, are the New Orleans Saints looking ahead today against the Philadelphia Eagles? We shall see.
Yeah, we definitely shall see. And we already have a couple of comments coming in, and we have, of course, our guest here on the line. The big one here is Joey B, who's been a fan of the show. He's come on lately and always comes on strong. And Joey B says, yeah, baby Angel, hello from Colorado. Joey B, thank you for tuning in from Colorado.
Welcome.
And of course,
What's up, Joey?
I guess I should switch things around because it's the bottom right guy there for Joey B. Tom says, hi, guys, and Joey B, the professor. So thank you for those comments. And, of course, we're here. And I'm going to bring this back up here because of two guests that we have. And I can see them waiting here in the green room. One is, of course, you know him from CSN, NBC Sports Philly. He's going to be surely missed this year so much because when you have certain people that have been on media, whether it's local media, whether it's been, worldwide, it's just they bring a certain something to the table. And so he will be missed. But the one thing that we will show here is, and of course I have to say it with the exclusion of, I do not own the rights of this content. It is provided by YouTube, but YouTube this time, the guy behind the content actually will be on. So just a little throwback when it comes to Murphy here.
I do indeed. You know, I'm going to have a hard time competing with that last conversation, but I'm going to do my best.
Unless you put a hoagie on your chest and start eating.
Yeah, that's not happening for the good of all of us, to be honest with you. You know, it is Star Wars night. The 4th straight years the Phils have done Star Wars night here at Citizens Bank Park. Always kind of a fun night, especially if you're a fan of the movies and the characters as well. Earlier in the dugout, they were showing the photos up on Fanavision with the players in their different characters. The players in the dugout were loving it. They couldn't wait to see the next one. They were having a lot of fun with that. Of course, the characters are walking around the ballpark. And anyone who signed up and bought their tickets through Group Night, well, they did get a special giveaway. How about this? Check out the Fanatic, bobblehead Fanatic, in his X1 fighter plane outfit. How about that? In his uniform right there. All folks that got their tickets from Phillies.com/theme night, signed up for the Star Wars ticket. They got one of these tonight. Always fun to get a bobblehead at the ballpark. But, you know, John, I know Star Wars is not for everybody, but theme nights here at the ballpark, they are for everybody. We've got a little bit of everything. So go onto the website and check them out. The next couple, how about this? Game of Thrones. Johnny, you Game of Thrones fan?
Never.
Okay. Charlie Brown. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. You like Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
We've got one for you, John. That's coming up later, the first week of July. And then Retro Night, 1980s Retro Night coming your way in July as well.
So with that being said, of course, we see him right here. Here is, of course, Gregg Murphy. Murph, how are you? And thank you so much for joining the show. We do appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Good to be here.
So, of course, we know that things happen differently here in 2020. Things have changed. I know I will say personally for my own self down here in Florida, being in the Tampa area, I will miss when you make the visit down here to Bright House Field. So, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will. And the one thing I will say, if for those who have traveled from Philly down to Clearwater to watch the Phillies in spring training, when you watch Gregg Murphy at work, you'd have to imagine just like John Barchard, but you have to imagine Gregg going around like almost having someone in this ear and then the fans in the other ear, and then he's paying attention to everything that's going on, and then he takes the time to make sure, hello, how are you? How you doing? You know, of course, I'm not saying the way you say it, but you know, it's great that when you get around to the crowd and just make them feel like they're back at Citizens Bank Park. So I will say, Murphy, you will be definitely missed.
Well, thank you very much. You know, if the situation doesn't change and I'm not back out there on the field next year, that will be one of the biggest things I miss is getting a chance to interact with the fans and, you know, go to the different ballparks, starting down there in Clearwater and just getting a chance to talk to Phillies fans. I'm a Phillies fan myself. So, you know, getting a chance to talk to the rest of the fans has always been a lot of fun.
Well, I will say that, you know, as far as the career that you've had and you'll continue to have, because I'm pretty sure things do work in mysterious ways. So you never know. God closed one door, but he opens up another one. So there could be a great possibility you would end up coming back as far as on the airwaves. But, you know, it's to see you just like we, you know, with Derek Gunn that we had on as well, to watch you guys just grow and see how things happen. And then you coming into your own. I mean, it's really special. It's like a family, you know, you get to see these guys. And I think for me, for myself, just calling you Merv, you know, it's one of those things where you feel that connect. And so when you see certain people, unless someone knows, well, why wouldn't he call him Gregg or Mr. Murphy? Because it's that family collection that you've had.
Well, that's nice to hear. Obviously, that's probably the best compliment that folks in our business can get is that we connect with the viewers, with the listeners, with the fans back home. And, you know, I always just feel like that's exactly what I am. I grew up here in the Philadelphia area. I've always been a sports fan in this area. I've rooted for the teams. And now I was lucky enough to you know, work with one of them. But for me, it's just, you know, it was my job, but I got paid to really be a sports fan of Philadelphia. And, you know, so I think maybe that's why I connect with the fans the way I do, is because I feel like I'm just one of them.
No, listen, that is the honest God truth, because I'm just hoping that come 21, we will be able to hear the bats, you know, listen to the sound, the ball breaking down the field. I mean, we're hoping for all that to come back. And I don't know, even if you can, put it that way, if you can, just come down for a spring training game, because we know that we will love to see you at Bright House Field. So by all means, you know, come down. And I want to throw, before I throw it back to my other guys here, the one picture that I did find, and I've always been curious about this picture, and it's a young you.
Very young.
So when does that, and how far back does that go down to?
I think that was when I was working for a TV station in Reading and Allentown, WFMZ, Channel 69. It was my first real television sportscaster's job. I had been on television on Home Shopping Network and QVC right when I got out of college, but that job was like my first real sportscaster's job. And if I'm not mistaken, that picture was from our Friday night football show that we called the Big Ticket, and that was one of the nights that I was hosting the Big Ticket. So that was a long time ago. That was probably 1994 or 1995, something like that.
Oh wow! So and now for me, I guess for the guys as well here. So how did you come about? Of course, going into your career when it came to media, like when obviously from high school to where if you moved on to college and progressed from there, what made you want to go into media, and then how did you end up getting a break between the Phillies and NBC Sports Network, which back then I forgot there's even CN8 before they went to CSN.
Yeah, well, so I got involved in the sports media business while I was a student at St. Joe's. I had gone to St. Joe's to be an attorney. I was going to go to law school. That was my plan. And while I was at St. Joe's, early on when I was a freshman at St. Joe's, one of my roommates was a big into music and wanted to go be a part of the radio station that was on campus. So he convinced me to go with him to the meeting. It was our first semester freshman year. We went to the meeting, and while we were at the meeting, they asked for volunteers to broadcast the men's and women's basketball games. And, I was in a room full of maybe 30 people or so, and most of the folks in the room were big, music folks that wanted to be DJs and play music on the radio. I was a big sports fan, so I kind of raised my hand and said, yeah, I'll do the basketball stuff. And I was really one or two people other than myself that raised their hand for that. Next thing I knew, I was doing play-by-play for St. Joe's men's and women's basketball. And I did that for 4 years. And I said, you know what? This beats going to law school, I think. So I'm going to try and pursue this. And, I had a lot of luck over the years for sure. Right place at right time sometimes, and met some great people that helped me out. So, to be able to get to, Comcast Sportsnet and then to NBC Sports Philadelphia and then to work for the Phillies, you need a lot of good luck along the way. And I certainly feel like I had a lot of that.
Well, congratulations. We hope to see you, just like, we had here between Barbara and Joey saying that they miss you. You hope to come back the same way with Joey B here. So, thank you guys for the comments. But yeah, we hope that we see you back at least in some sort of spectrum back with Phillies, if not at least back in the media. But Mike, you want it next?
Hey, Greg, how you doing? Thank you for coming on the show. Pleasure to meet you. I myself was a game day employee for the Phillies for 16 years. I wanted to ask you, do you have any future career coming, like in MLB at any capacity?
Well, honestly, at the moment, everything is kind of still up in the air. I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to find my way back to baseball, Major League Baseball. Love to stay here in Philadelphia and work with the Phillies if there's an opportunity that arises in that scenario. But because of the way things are right now, it's kind of a wait and see process. So I would love to stay in baseball, and if that meant having to go to a different team in a different city, I would be open to doing something like that. Whether I would be a field reporter or do play-by-play for another team, all of those things are kind of on the table for me. I just, when the news came out in August that I wouldn't be back at NBC Philadelphia, I had to kind of reassess and try to figure out which way I wanted to pursue. I've got, one kid still in high school here, and my other two are out of the house at this point. So, I have to take into consideration that kind of stuff too. So I'm just kind of waiting and seeing what kind of opportunities might present themselves, and keeping my fingers crossed that they present themselves soon and here somewhere close by. That would be the best case scenario.
As far as the Phillies hiring Dave Dombrowski, what kind of job do you think he's going to do?
I got to be honest, I'm excited about it. I think it's a great hire. I think, the organization needed, when they brought Joe Girardi in, you kind of felt like, all right, here's a stable anchor in the manager's chair that the organization can really benefit from. A guy that's done the job before, has won, been successful, and obviously in the biggest market in the country in New York. And I think Dave Dombrowski brings a lot of those similar qualities. You know, he's been successful everywhere he's gone. You can't argue that. He goes into places and he wins. And this team wants to win now. I know that for a fact. They are not looking to rebuild again. They are not looking to tear this down. They want to figure out how to use the players they have now and add in a couple of more pieces to win now. And I think Dave Dombrowski might be the best guy to kind of guide them over the next year or two to get back to that point.
Can you see Joe Girardi and Dave Dombrowski working side by side?
Absolutely. I no doubt about it. Two great baseball guys with a lot of respect for the game. And I know Dave in his press conference the other day spoke about Joe Girardi and how he holds him in high regard. I have not talked to Joe Girardi about Dave Dombrowski, but I have to believe that it's a similar feeling the other way. You know, the game of baseball, it's a very small knit group when you stop to think about it. And these guys always have crossed paths over the years. And I think when you win and you have the respect of your team and your organization, like Joe Girardi did in New York, like Dombrowski did in his different stops, your reputation kind of precedes you, and folks know, yeah, this guy's in it, and he's in it with the right kind of frame of mind to get us where we need to go. So I think they're going to be real good together.
You see the Phillies going out, possibly getting like a George Springer as opposed to re-signing JT Realmuto?
If I had to bet, I think the more likely scenario is that JT comes back, especially with the news that came out in New York yesterday that the Mets had gone in a different direction and signed McCann. I think the Mets were a real threat to kind of take JT away from the Phils. But now that they're not in play anymore, I think the Phils probably jump back up to the top of that list for JT Realmuto. And I would be surprised if they went the Springer route rather than JT. I just think JT is the kind of guy that fits perfectly on this roster. We obviously know what kind of talent he is, but they need a veteran catcher, a guy that does all the things that he does on the field, but maybe even more importantly, what he does off the field. He's a great leader, works with the pitchers. They all respect him. So I think JT's a great fit. They need him back in Philly, and I think it's going to happen. My fingers are crossed, but I think it's going to happen.
I know over the last couple of weeks there's been rumors of Gene Segura being traded. Have you heard anything of that?
Just probably exactly what you're hearing, that his name has been brought up in talks, and it's Gene Segura is a terrific player. I think he's one of the real good pure hitters in baseball, he's been good for the Phillies. He hasn't been an all-star for the Phillies, but he's been good. But if you're going to get something back, you've got to trade some talent, and they do have a little bit of depth in that infield. They can play around with some of the bodies that they have currently on the roster and plug some holes. So if they had to deal someone like Gene Segura to get something back, I think, he would be in play. But, I think almost everybody's name will get tossed around at some point in the next couple of weeks and months from most organizations. Everybody's going to kick the tires on guys that can play the game of baseball every day the way Gene does. And so do I think he'll get moved? I really don't know. But if they do move him, I would hope that they'd get back something that's going to help this team immediately, because I think Gene's a good enough player to get you that kind of player back.
I myself would love to see the Phillies re-sign Didi Gregorius, because I thought he was a very nice pickup last year. Played every game.
Yeah, agreed. And Didi's well liked in the clubhouse. He's a natural leader, and you're right. I mean, he's a terrific shortstop defensively, and we saw what he could do offensively. He was a real spark and probably the most steady player that the Phils had last season from beginning to end. He kind of was rock solid the whole way through. I think he'd be great. Didi bet on himself. He signed a 1-year contract, and he said, I'm going to go out, I'm going to play this 1 year, and I'm in hopes of turning it into a multi-year deal. He certainly played well enough in that shortened season last year for other teams to be willing to give him a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not the Phils again, value that position because they do have a little bit more depth in the infield than they do in other spots. Or if Didi ends up, finding another team. I think it's going to take a while for these guys to get signed. So, a lot can happen in the next couple weeks and months.
Mike, I'm going to interrupt you here for a second because I want to get 2 questions in, Murph, that I see that's coming in. One is from Rick Marcus, and he says, "Hey, Murph, would you be interested in replacing Chris Wheeler?"
Replacing Chris Wheeler. Well, Chris is retired at this point, so if I got his retirement package and could go hang out in Clearwater with him, sure. Yeah. Chris is a dear friend of mine, and he's living down in Clearwater Beach now, full time, and he's retired and on the golf course, so it's not a bad spot to be. But Wheels was such a huge part of the Phillies organization for so many years. I mean, 4 decades. And I grew up listening to Chris Wheeler and Harry and those guys. And, getting a chance to work with Wheels for a couple of years was a real thrill for me. So, I got a couple more years left in the workforce, I think, I hope. Wheels can hang out on the golf course and I'll go visit him when I'm down in Florida.
No, I'm going to get back to the second question here from David Sherman. He had talked about Glenn Macnow, but I said earlier, so there was going to be another surprise guest, and I see the surprise guests are waiting here in the waiting room. So I also did mention they may be making some noise. So the Fandemic crew is coming on because, well, it's good for them to join because you were part of their success as well, and they as much as yours. So the Fandemic crew, we got Oscar and Brett. Guys, thank you for coming on as well.
Hey, thanks for having us. How you doing, guys?
I'll tell you what, we're in the presence of royalty at this point. It's good to see you guys. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I saw you on the commercial the other day. It was good to hear your voice.
yeah. I'm doing the commercial route now too. But and I saw your bobblehead the other day, and it certainly looks good. And you guys well deserved. These guys brought so much energy to an empty ballpark. It was unbelievable. It was unlike any other city in Major League Baseball. What these guys were able to do to rally a fan base that wasn't allowed to be a part of the game inside. But man, oh man, did they take full advantage of what they had outside. And it was awesome. Night in and night out. We just marveled at their energy and enthusiasm. It was great.
And that's why I wanted them to join us because just from the throwback, especially from Brent and Oscar, because I know for a fact that the Yankees, I think, were the ones that were the most irritated with the air horn, which I thought it was hilarious. But I mean, if that was the case, even you can hear it. And the funny thing was, you can hear it clear as day. And obviously, the cameras are behind behind home plate, but you can just hear it. And I mean, thanks to you guys, Oscar and Brett, and everyone involved with the Fandemic crew, because it was. I mean, you guys did change, I will say, the game of baseball this year during 2020. So, and I hope that you guys are back out there come next year.
Yeah, we'll definitely be there next year. So if we're inside, we actually have our own section. The Phillies, we worked with them, and we are going to be in section 301. And if for whatever reason we're not inside, we'll be back outside. And Murph, you should come out and see us. I mean,
you can bet on it. I will absolutely come see you. I might be coming as a fan and just hanging out in 301 with you, but I'll come for sure.
Murph, Howard Smith, the guy that, the executive from the Phillies, I don't know if you know Howard, he says to us that good things happen to good people. And, Oscar and I have always felt that with you. I know you were talking about hoping to find, another gig, and, good things happen to good people. You've always been a good guy, Every fan I've talked to has always talked about how much they love you, about how friendly you were, about how, you made them feel not like a bother, but yeah, sure, come on over. I even have pictures of me with you fake interviewing me, and now Oscar has pictures as well.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for saying that. That's very nice of you to say. And, for me, it's just so enjoyable getting a chance to hang out with like-minded people and talking Phillies baseball and being at a ballpark and just enjoying each other's company. So the fact that it was part of what I did for a living, that was gravy, because I just enjoy it. And, I plan on continuing. I'll be at the ballpark for sure, in one capacity or another. I'll be down there and I'll be rooting our squad on. So.
Yeah, that's it. Now, of course, for the fans that don't know, if you're just tuning in, of course, we have Greg Murphy on with us today, and we appreciate the time that Greg's giving us today. Of course, it's Murph for most of us that know him, but for the most part, Oscar and Brett, because I want to ask you guys a question as well. How did you guys come together to think about it, as far as putting this together and then just getting out there where people were either going to love it or hate it? Because Philly, it's a love and hate. It's a beautiful city. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the way it is. So, how did you guys come about starting the Pandemic Crew?
Go ahead, Oscar. You take this one.
Me and Brett, we're just great Philly fans, and we just had the same mindset, and it was just, summer camp coming back to Philadelphia, and there was nothing stopping us from going behind that gate to even catch a glimpse of some type of baseball. So we ran into each other. We were the most consistent ones out there, and the crowd started to grow, and then the Pandemic Crew was birthed.
We got to add, though, too, the Pandemic Crew, everybody that comes out there is a part of it. Oscar and I were just sort of like the organizers. We made sure the hand sanitizer was out there. We made sure everybody had masks on. We made sure that, if you didn't have a mask, we gave you a mask. We were more like the ringleaders as opposed to, the crew's anybody that shows up and behaves, which was pretty much everybody. We had really only one incident, and it was, the normal, somebody had too much to drink, and, it was dealt with in a reasonable fashion. So anybody that wants to join the crew is more than welcome. We were just the ones that were most consistent about it, and kind of took the head, because the Phillies kind of told us, look, you guys have to be safe out there, and you guys have to behave out there, and that's what we did. Other than the money we raised for charity, the second greatest thing was we didn't have one issue with COVID out there all season.
That's awesome.
That was good to know. Oscar, I know your time is limited, because I know you took a quick time out from what you were doing to come on. But listen, Oscar and Brett, I thank both of you guys coming on. And, of course, we're following you. And Philly season, of course, is coming up as well. So Oscar and Brett, I'm pretty sure we're going to be reaching out a lot more come the start of the season. So it'd be nice to try to put something together for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you guys.
You guys all have a great holiday. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To everybody.
Thank you.
So, again, it was fun to kind of give it a little surprise. We're waiting to see if it was actually going to happen, but you were a part of it. Like I said, Murph, there's so many things it's going to be missed around Citizens Bank Park, and truthfully, I would have kind of usually we do a moment of silence for someone who's either passed or moved on or something else like that, but there should be almost like a Philly moment of silence, but in a good cheering way for you, because unless you come back in full fashion, it's just, to me, it's not going to be the same. But again, we thank you for the many years you were with the Phillies, and especially Comcast Sportsnet, and I mean, I can just go on, and I appreciate it. But Sherman, I don't know if you had a question.
I'll ask one question, Murph. So I've had the opportunity to get to about 20 stadiums in Major League Baseball. And to the casual baseball fan, a lot of people say you got to get to Wrigley or you got to get to Boston with the Green Monster. Can you talk about an underrated stadium, which is really cool that nobody ever talks about? For me, mine would be Kansas City in Kauffman Stadium.
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was about to say probably the most underrated stadium that no one talks about, at least here in Philadelphia, is Kansas City. And it happened to be the 30th ballpark that I got to. It was the last one that I needed to check off my list. And we were there in 2019, I guess was when it was. And wow, you're right. What a cool place. You got the fountains out there in the outfield. And, it's just Kansas City is a great city, first and foremost. And, that ballpark, they've done such a good job keeping it looking fresh and keeping it looking modern and clean. We were lucky enough to, obviously to be underneath in their executive offices at one point. It really has a little bit of everything. And I don't think people talk about it enough. You do hear, you hear San Francisco, which is an awesome ballpark. And you hear about Pittsburgh, awesome ballpark. And of course the Wrigley's and Dodger Stadium. But yeah, very few people mention Kansas City. And if you're doing a ballpark tour, it's a perfect place to go. You can hit Kansas City and St. Louis, and it's really a great park. So underrated for sure.
I would agree 100%. Just seeing that blue crown with the KC right across the street from Arrowhead Stadium, definitely a really cool event.
right there in the parking lot with the football stadium, which is cool in and of itself. I've never been to Arrowhead, or I've never been inside anyway. Tom McCarthy's called a couple games there. He said that's an amazing place as well. So again, underrated city, I think. Kansas City, great Midwestern city. You can't go wrong if you're kind of traveling across the country hitting some ballparks.
Right. Fuji?
No, I didn't have any questions.
Well, I got two more here that I want to ask right before we let you go. One is Rick says, why have the Phillies continued to ignore relief pitching? It's been terrible for a few years now.
Well, I don't think that's an accurate statement. I don't think they've ignored it. I don't think they've done a very good job in acquiring it. I think that's a fair statement. There are a couple of guys. Well, last year's season started off with injuries. I mean, you lost the guy, David Robertson, who has done the job at a high level everywhere he's been. He gets to Philadelphia, he gets hurt, and they're unable to rely on him. It did whatever they tried over the last 2.5, 3 years in the bullpen just hasn't worked. And it's frustrating because obviously if they had even a semblance of a solid bullpen last year, they're probably in the postseason last year. And there's a whole different feel to everything that's happening around the team. But that's not the way it was. The bullpen was historically bad. And Dave Dombrowski was asked about it the other day. How do you fix that? And he made no bones about it. It's going to take some work. He said there's lots of guys out there that can help them. They just have to go out and try to find the right pieces. So I think everybody understands how important of a piece it is, especially in baseball nowadays. It's a matter of going out and finding those guys that can stay healthy and can throw strikes, because they haven't had a whole lot of those guys in the recent years.
The next question comes in is from David Sherman. He says, I remember Glenn Macnow successfully predicting that the Phillies would be one of the four main teams to break the awful championship drought years back. Do a lot of you out there feel, as I do, that the Flyers will be the next one? There are always going to be a lot of obstacles out there, yet we almost look favorable at the reality that the guys in the orange and black jerseys with the flying P's are the front runner. So kind of a 1-2 with a Phillies and, of course, Flyers mentioned there.
Yeah, it's funny. So someone asked me that question the other day, who I thought would be the next team in Philadelphia. And so I'll give you the same answer I gave them. If I'm speaking with my heart, I'm going to say the Phillies. But if I'm speaking with my head, I think you have to put the Flyers as the leaders in the clubhouse. They really seem, they've got the netminder now that you need. And that's so important. We've seen that if you follow the Flyers over the last 30 years, if you don't have a goalkeeper or goaltender, you're gonna have issues. So they have the goaltender now, and they really do. They seem to have that nucleus of young players that can maybe find their way to the Stanley Cup. So that sure would be exciting. I love the Flyers. I love watching Flyers hockey. So I'd put them first, and I would probably say the Sixers are right on their heel. The Western Conference is so packed. I can see the Sixers getting to the NBA Finals relatively soon. In fact, as early as next year, maybe. But, to win it all, they're going to have to get through some of those tough Western Conference teams. So I think they might have a little bit more of a difficult road once they get to the finals. I think the Flyers are probably the favorites right now to end the drought. But again, I'm kind of hoping things all start to break right. Maybe it's the Phillies that jump up and surprise people.
You got one more question that came in here, and it says, Joey B says, hey, Murph, what was the crappiest press box in Major League Baseball you ever worked?
Well, there's a couple. So crappy is that's a harsh word. But, when you think about ballparks like Wrigley Field and Fenway Park, they have such amazing charm and such amazing history. But, back in the day, press boxes were an afterthought. It's not like Citizens Bank Park, where we have this gorgeous space to work, and there's plenty of room for everyone, and there's a lunchroom off the back, and nowadays they think about those kind of things when building ballparks. Back then they did not. To get to the Wrigley press box, you have to hoof your way up a bunch of steps. You have to climb up a ladder. It's a challenge just to get there, and it's very small. And there's not a whole lot they can do about that. They do the best they can. But when you're used to these big sprawling press boxes in these new ballparks, and then you get put into the one at Wrigley, albeit special because you're calling a game at one of the most historic ballparks in America, one of the two most historic, it's a little crowded. So in that regard, they were probably the toughest working conditions.
I got, at least for me, one last question. I don't know if Fuji will have another one or not, but so we're going to do a little throwback here.
Okay.
To me, I'm going to ask you, which one was the better of the two, the 1980 World Series or the 2008 World Series? And just kind of share a little thing as far as when it comes to myself. So when I was at the age of 10, my dad ended up taking me, and of course we end up, the Phillies end up winning, not we're the fans, but Phillies end up winning the World Series. And I remember my dad and I taking the hike from obviously Veterans Stadium back then up to City Hall. And my dad kind of looks at me and says, hey son, where's the car? I'm like, well, Dad's back in the parking lot. So we had to make the trek back because the subway didn't run the way it runs right now. Then in 2008, I was able to take my stepson, and it was nostalgic where he was the same age that I was when ended up winning it. But to me, I think 2008 was a little bit bigger than 1980, even though we were waiting for it for years as an organization, as a fan base. But 2008 had, just because you had Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, I think it meant a lot more at that time than 1980 did. So I would love to know, which one of the two was the best one for you?
Well, so very similar. I was 9 years old when they won it in 1980, and my overwhelming memory of that is when they were in the World Series. My father was a school teacher, and he was a sixth grade school teacher, and one of the responsibilities he had was to go on the sixth grade camping trip with the kids that go off on the camping trip. So he had to go on the camping trip while the Phillies were playing in the World Series in October. And he brought me with him, and we all gathered in this cabin to watch the final game of the World Series, and the TV would not work and they could not get the game on. So we ended up having to go back to our cabins and listening to the game on the radio. And that's how we listened to the final game of the World Series in 80. And then we all came out of our cabins banging pots and pans and everything. So as a 9-year-old kid, huge baseball fan, it was beyond exciting for me. And you think at that time it's going to happen every year, but then you have to fast forward, 38 years before it happened again or whatever it was. So in 2008, I was covering the team. I was working for CN8 at the time, and I was covering the Phillies. And again, still a huge fan, but also with a job to do in covering the team. So when the final pitch was thrown, I was actually underneath in the tunnel. Didn't even get to see it live before we came out on the field and had a chance to interview the players. So just totally different experiences for me. But, after the work was done in 2008, a couple of my buddies and I got together and celebrated that win as well, because it was a long time coming. If you were a Phillies fan, as I was from the age of 8 all the way up until they won it in 2008, it was kind of like a weight off your shoulders. And so they were both great. And hopefully we don't have to wait another 3.5 decades to experience another one. God, please no.
Fuji?
Greg, I could piggyback off what you're saying about 2008 because I was working right next to the bullpen in 101, and just to be there, it was just with that rain delay from 2 days before, it felt like an eternity just to get that weight off our backs of 25-year drought without winning anything.
And you remember, if you were in the ballpark, and I actually went to a couple of games earlier in the postseason as a fan. I took my sons to the game, and I took my dad to one of the games. So the energy that was in Citizens Bank Park, it was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It was it gives me chills thinking about it right now. The entire ballpark kind of in unison, whether it was getting on CC Sabathia or celebrating the Joe Blanton home run or whatever the case might be. There was just this energy that and that energy stayed in that ballpark for another couple of years, and obviously it dissipated after 2011 and things started to go south. But man, oh man, if there's one thing that I can't wait to see again, it's that ballpark full with a ton of energy, excited fans, and a game that means something, because there is no better scene than in Philadelphia in a stadium or a ballpark in a game that means something, because they're the best fans in the country, and you can't replicate that. And I've been in other places, and it's not the same. Philadelphia is special in that regard.
Well, just working for the Phillies and being there was a privilege and a blessing. Like getting back to CC Sabathia when Victorino hit that grand slam.
Awesome.
I'm just getting chills thinking of it now. Like that place erupted like a volcano.
Yeah. Right. My son was 8 years old at the time. He was at that game with me. We were up in probably 305, I would say, because we start to wrap around the pole. We were down in the corner. I don't remember what section exactly, but what I remember is they hit it, and him jumping up and down and high-fiving everyone in our section, running up and down the steps, and and you just, those memories, that's what it's all about. Sports. Right. We love our sports here, and we're passionate about it, but that's why, because you have these memories that will last forever. He and I literally just got back from picking him up from the Naval Academy. Just finished his first semester down there. He got home today, and he and I, share that memory. We talk about it all the time. Remember when CC Sabathia, when Shane hit the home run, and we just talk about it, and you just always have that memory. So that's what makes it so special.
No, that does. I mean, you're right, because as far as passion, I mean, you look, we're just 3 years separated from a Super Bowl, and I remember the next morning just going even to Wawa down there in South Philly, and people were like, "Hey, champ, what's going on?" And it was still the electricity from the night prior was still there, because John, who I have here and waiting. The one thing that was fun was, so with I was with John and James Seltzer, Brian Coulter. There was a bunch of us that were over off Delaware Avenue, and good Lord, I'm drawing a blank as far as the place we were at. But the feeling that we had that night, it was like a euphoric feeling. It was almost like you didn't believe it happened, but it did happen. And then the rest of 94 WIP crew was there as well. But you own that moment for the longest, because you don't know in Philadelphia when it'll happen again. Man, look how long it's taken for the Flyers and Sixers to get back there.
Yep.
So you're exactly right as far as owning it and knowing that it's a blue collar city, and people can never they can say whatever they want to, but if you lived in the city, you know that no one will ever go hungry. You know that people take care of each other. We do the best that we possibly can, because when they mean the city of brotherly love, that's exactly what it is. So I mean, that's at least my 2 cents what I can say about the city of Philadelphia. But Murph, I don't know if you have to go or not. You're more than welcome to at least to hang around. We're going to introduce here John, who's been waiting. But if you like to hang around, if you guys don't meet, they have never met, we can bring him on.
Well, you know what, guys? I'm gonna bow out because of the story I just told you. My son literally got home about 15 minutes before I picked him up down there, and we just got home. So if it's okay with you, I'm gonna head down and see him now. But thank you so much for having me on. It was a real pleasure, and best of luck to you guys. And like I said, I hope to see all of you down at the ballpark at some point over the next couple of years.
Thank you, Murphy.
Yes,
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
You got it. Anytime. Take care.
Let you know, son, that thank you for your service to our country.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Take care.
All right. So we had Murph on, and thank you again to Murph. I know he was busy, and he took the time to come on with us. And switching over now, of course, from Murph. So when you talk about things that happen in Philly, I'm hearing no feedback for some reason, but when you hear things that go on in Philly, there's, again, certain people that you miss. There are certain things that are said, whether they're sound bites or they're the passion about it. Of course, John, that we dearly miss. John Barcia there on the left, if you're looking at your screen. Vince Quinn in the middle, and John Crane on the right. He's now with Last Out Media. But before John joined Last Out Media, to watch him go from, at least the time that I met him, and John's been in the business for many years, but to watch him grow a fan base from nothing to the point where it almost became like a concert where people just wanted to see him all over the place. It's hard for them to schedule because of the radio show. It was something else. And on top of that, you also could not, and before I bring him in here, because there's one thing that's on there and that I want to see, and of course, a lot of us miss, and John should know this because he'll pretty much connect with it as well. is this coming up right here. And of course, the sound's not playing. Why is it not playing? Come on. Oh, let me restart it because, again, this is the way live works. Things happen. There's glitches and everything else. So let me get out of there, get back into it. Holy moly. This is the fun part about live stuff. All right. It's coming. I don't want to mention this thing is great. And I know my co-host here has been waiting for it. So let me bring this in. Sorry, John, for making you wait just a little bit longer, but
love this intro.
You're listening to the Go Birds Pod, a radio.com podcast about your beloved birds.
Philadelphia. Hello, everybody. I hope you are enjoying the middle of your holiday season.
Now, the great part about that is, of course, who knew at the time that we are going to be playing this and John coming on, and I will bring John onto the screen right now, that who would have thought that actually holiday clip there would be a part of the actual show. So, John, thank you so much for joining us. Again, I know just like Murph, you are extremely busy, but we do love and appreciate the time you coming on with us.
What's going on? Broad Street Mouth Sports Talk. Oh, man, that is a mouthful to say. I got to work on that. How are you, fellas?
Good. How you doing, John?
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and welcome to the producer studio in Last Out Media Studios. So thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, listen, for joining, of course. And for those you don't know that are tuning into the show right now, the great thing is that I've been pretty much like family and a brother to John now for many years, and it was fun to promote for John even before. It's like, your dad taking your hand and saying, son, today you're going to grow. And this is how you're going to do it. And so watching John and James and Brandon at the time before things went differently, we had Go Birds and then still Bleeding Green Nation. But to be able to reach out to Jimmy on the phone and then come into the studio and then promote when I was doing Uber and Lyft back then in the car, and I had placards in the car that said, thank you for taking a ride. Don't forget to leave 5 stars. And oh, by the way,
amazing.
To Go Birds podcast, and at the time it was also Bleeding Green Nation, and people would jump in the car like, what is that? What's going on? You have to listen to it. And then I had it on cue to make it even better, and people were like, oh no, I'm gonna listen to the show. So it was so great to obviously to grow up with you and Jimmy and the rest of the gang. And John, it's you've always been near and dear to me, and what makes it even better now is that we're watching you now grow with Last Out Media, and not only that, but we're getting coaching lessons from the man himself. And it's been what, 14 years now you in the business?
I think it's been 20 now, because I started as such a young kid. I think I got my first radio job at 17. So yeah, but 20 years it's been now. It's crazy to think about. And you guys are doing excellent, by the way. This was like the whole interview with Murph was really cool to see. But if Murph ever or never hears this again, someone, God, at Major League Baseball, what was I thinking of? Oh, Murph at the ballparks. Please, God, somebody hire him and put a podcast on that guy already. Like, that is an ambassador for baseball, not just Philadelphia. And I know he absolutely belongs here. And here's what he didn't want to say: it's a travesty that the Phillies are not having him there. It's not just because of Corona or anything else. Like, I have a lot of questions about this owner. And having a decision from wherever it was, from Comcast, whoever it is, you guys made a huge deal and people are losing their jobs. That's not cool. That is like what is happening in this year alone. Not cool. Don't care how everybody's like, oh yeah, we never expected this. Yes, but like, man, especially with all these the guys like Gregg Murphy are the ones that get tossed to the side and they're just like, oh, he'll be fine. And who knows? You don't know if Gregg Murphy is going to be fine. I know he's nice. He's so talented. He's one of the nicest guys that is ever, blessed probably that stadium. Honestly, like, everybody loves Gregg Murphy, and Major League Baseball needs to take advantage of it. The Phillies aren't, for sure. So glad you guys had him on.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It's a lot of fun trying to get the guests on, and I know it's busy. I know with you, for example, it is extremely busy. Even though we do reach out to each other almost at least on a weekly basis, and at times on a daily basis. So it's fun when you connect with someone and you keep that connection because you don't know where life takes you. I mean, who would have say, as I said this before, even the Derek Gunn, that who would have thought, and at least for me, knowing you now for many years that I've known, that it would be the other way around. I can sit in the studio and watch you take calls, from other people. And so now it's really nostalgic even for me just to say, and I know I've used the word earlier, but who would have thought that I would be on here with my co-host and sports contributor actually interviewing you? So you never know where life can take you.
Well, there's one person that in this room, me, right here, sitting. I knew you would be in this spot doing something. And that's the cool thing about Angel and both Mikes here is that they've just come together like we did, like me and Brandon and James and Mike K, Patrick. I mean, Matt Daring. There's a million people that got us and helped us. Just wanted to put a podcast together. We didn't envision ourselves being on the Fanatic or WIP or Comcast or any of those other outlets. We were just a bunch of fans that wanted to have fun. That were tired of hearing crap on the radio, and some dumbass decided that I'm just going to quit my job and see where it takes us, and that's where it takes us. And you don't need to do that. Let me just say that there's many massive different ways to get your podcasts out there. StreamYard is where broadcasting from here is incredible because you get everybody's comments from literally every single one of your departments. So I think that's been really cool to see in podcasting and video streaming, and all these people are realizing I can just kind of do this on my own. So it's awesome to see you guys like this. And that's when we first started, we go like, God, I was like, if there can be 10 angels in the world that just say, go download this other person's podcast, like we're on to something here. And the same things are going to happen to you guys. I see Joey in here that's been very active and has been following you guys for a while. Same thing. Like that's the beauty of this is, people are going to talk about the same thing or the same sport or whatever, but they're not hearing it from you. And that's how we took it. It was like, they're not hearing it from John Barcher, James Seltzer, Brandon Lee Gouton, because that's the takes that we want to hear. And we know that there's millions of others, or hopefully millions of others. We never got to that millions. We got to the thousands, but there's thousands of other people that want to hear your opinion. And that's cool and powerful and responsible and an awesome feeling, because now all those people that turned you down that for an interview or didn't think you were going to make it to the radio business are suddenly wanting to be on your show. And it's just this weird, cool transition that happens for everybody. So get out there, whether you're in a studio, want to learn how to be in a studio or whatever, just from home. Like these are three guys that don't live in the separate or together in a space. Neither did we. We had to figure it out a lot on the fly. And now more than ever, it's so much easier to get your podcast known and seen and all that different stuff. So I'm glad that if we were a small part of the Philadelphia sports podcasting scene, and this is giving birth to a lot of different others as technology keeps catching up, that's good enough for me. I don't need the millions of dollars. I don't need anything for people to constantly be getting better and asking more questions. I think that's what we're doing. What we're doing now. So it's really cool to see.
No, it is. And there's two. Now again, because I can take back the moment, but I showed this picture both to PLG and to Jimmy. And I want to show because it is a throwback picture. There's actually two of them. One that you'll see, and then the other one I want you to see, just like Jimmy did, if you remember. So this one, if you remember, was, of course, the NFC Championship game when we all would pretty much end up getting together.
Can I just say, look how tall Bradley Gouton is. Like he makes us look like tiny people. And just so everyone knows, me and Angel are about 6 flat, and that's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a tremendous tree. Then this one here, do you remember that guy?
So fucking fat. Yes, I do. But yes, I do. Absolutely. That right there was the championship game, right?
Yep.
Right there. Yeah, that was one of the best times ever in that parking lot. That's right next to the Jetro lot, M&N lot. It was the first time I think we had like a beautiful shot of the link. We got the cameras working for the first time. Yeah. And before all the chaos and what they showed on the news, there was a ton of Vikings fans that kind of came by, and there was a lot of good camaraderie going back and forth and sharing beers and all that. And then, of course, that all broke when, I don't know, somebody got mouthy, and more than likely it was from Minnesota, and it was probably just, hey, how you doing? And somebody threw a beer, and then that was chaos and from there on. But that moment is, and you referenced it earlier, is the cool thing that I loved to do is because we could never go to the game, but we always had most of the time access to at least a pair of tickets, so we could find out who wasn't kind of go into the game and then hand it off. It just so happened that Angel and Brian Coulter were standing right there. We have two pretty decent seats to go watch Minnesota versus the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And I just leaned over. I was like, yo, man, you want to go? And they like looked up and him and Brian, I was like, get on it, have us check in. And that was the start of like the great, not only the greatest run for the Eagles, but the greatest run for us as a podcast. That whole entire year, like following along, we were right just a lot that year, and we caught the positive wave it takes. I'm out here yelling, we're going to the Super Bowl as soon as Jay Ajayi gets signed. I go, there it is. I was like, right there. I was like, they're going on the run. I was like, I don't care what you guys think. This is heading that way. There's no jinx. And then, of course, Carson Wentz goes down. I start bawling like a baby on live air, embarrassed and excited and, confused. And then we all know what happens after that. But that in particular is why I think podcasting is amazing, is just – me and Angel being able to connect that day, and it felt like there was 200 Angels there, like with us, and that's what's awesome about all of that and the journey itself. Like, yeah, sure, the career points are awesome, and you're going to remember those like personally, but in terms of what it means to do this stuff, that is the perfect reference point for everything. It felt like every single Eagles fan was with us that year.
Yeah, that is exactly true. And I'm going to share a story, obviously, because you weren't with us when we went inside the link. But prior to that, when we were down there at the Art Museum, of course, for Radio Row during the draft, the cool part was when I came down to see you guys twice. And I remember the second time when I came down, you guys had a webcam about that big. And it was in the corner part of the tent. And I remember I walked in and you guys, oh, look, it's Angel. He's there. And then waved. And I'm waving all over the place, not knowing where it was. And then you were like, oh, no, over there. And then I see the little webcam over there. So that day, you also remember, which that night we ended up going out on Passyunk Avenue, was because there was 1 million people that actually watched that show that day. So that was a cool moment to be part of the experience. And then, of course, the after party was a lot of fun. So that was good on Passyunk Avenue. And then the other thing was, so Brian and I were walking into the link. And, of course, we go in where basically your suites are. So we're like two kids. We're looking around like, oh, my God, can you believe this? Like, is this for real? So they give us the towels. Like, sir, you forgot your towels. Like, yes, you forgot.
I didn't you forgot. Thank you.
Exactly. So as we're taking it right up to the escalator, we're looking up like, man, we're VIPs. We're VIPs for the moment. So as Brian and I get to the top of the elevator, we're telling everybody, yeah, VIPs. That's who we are. We're VIPs right here. So it was – I can't tell you how much fun Brian and I had the whole entire time we did it. We're laughing, we're singing in the stands, and I wish Brian was on right now so you can remember as well. But man, we were between hugging and crying, you name it, like every emotion you could possibly go through that night, because you knew it was that year, that run, and then being able to be again, me, you, Jimmy, Brian. And tons of Eagles fans the night of the game, and then leaving from there, and then the podcast that went on from that night all the way through City Hall. And at City Hall, of course, I lost you guys because the crowd was so massive. But it is so much of a throwback for me. And again, I thank you for being part of that experience, because it was, I'll never forget it. Put it that way. It was for everything that was promoted in the whole 9 yards that night. It just took the cake.
Yeah, well, man, that was and that too. Just from like a podcasting standpoint, a radio standpoint, I couldn't believe that no one thought of like, well, why don't we just live stream the whole fucking walk, like from 45 minutes to here, and let's just see it until the signal goes out. Let's do it, and then just to talk to everybody with the recorder at the same time. And I was just like, yes. I was like, we have to do this. Yeah, of course. Then we're like, they're gonna win 2 more, and it'll be our thing. We'll just keep walking to Broad Street, and now we're sitting here talking about Jalen Hurts. So,
yeah. I see the comments that are coming in, so I'm going to get to the comments here with everyone. I saw David just chimed in with one. He said, "Fascinating here about podcasting journey. This is good stuff." And it is.
Thanks, David.
If you want to learn more, and again, this is why I'll do the selfish plug, but lastoutmedia.com, and I'll say lastoutmedianetwork.com, but reach out, and I'm telling you, the coach right here that's on the other side of the screen does an amazing job. And you guys want a fun time and learn a lot at the same time, reach out to John and Last Out Media, because it's well worth it. I will say that much. So the other comments I do see, but if you guys have questions, feel free to ask, because I'm going to go through the comments. I'm going to bring them up on the screen here as we talk.
You got it. Well, I'll say this here, like, because I want to get into in about 25 minutes of 425. First of all, this is what I can't like contemplate any of this stuff. The Eagles are so bad that they can't even compete with the Giants defense at all. The Cardinals, who are 6-6, are just kind of a meh team with a lot of talent on it. We all know that. Are kicking the crap out of them right now. Everyone, for some reason, all the sharps are starting to come in late. Now they're starting to bet on the Eagles because it got too high at 8.5. We have no offensive line. Everyone's screaming at each other. There's 3 departments that like no one knows what's going on. The Eagles clearly want to fire Doug, and I couldn't be more excited. Like, this is amazing to finally let's deconstruct the Philadelphia Eagles and put them back together. And it starts with a kid from Oklahoma via Alabama that no one really likes. Let's just be honest here. You guys don't even really like him. I'm not talking about our 3 co-hosts here, but everyone watching, you really don't like Jalen Hurts. And it's just because you think he's going to take Carson Wentz's job. And that's fine to have. But this kid can play. I just don't know how much and where his ceiling is. But up here, outstanding clear head. That's why I even though they're going to get their doors blown off of them, it's just they're not going to beat this team. I'm excited to see what Jalen Hurts can bring. And I do believe he's more than just a quality starter in this league, meaning that 15 to 20 range or whatever, more than a backup. This kid's a starter in this league. Just depends on whether they want to commit to the type of offense that I think he'd be best to, and that doesn't mean to kind of like scramble around and move him out of the pocket, all those Carson Wentz things that we constantly are throwing at this offense. It's just finding out what this kid does best, and this kid throws a really nice catchable ball. So I think you're going to see a lot of 3-step drops, especially with Driscoll and all these other guys that are coming in here. And it's going to be a lot of yelling and a lot of declaring. But just remember, no one knows who the starter is yet. That's the goal. The goal of this season is to figure out, is Carson Wentz broken enough or unbroken enough where a new coach is going to be salivating at the thought of, I get to choose between Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, and possibly maybe drafting a third one along the way in this draft, not necessarily the first round, but maybe I can have a project along this with as well. I think that's good for prospective head coaches because I'll keep coming back to it. Doug Peterson is not making out alive. If you read the report from Tim McManus coming in and Adam Schefter this morning, they're not interested in trading Carson Wentz. Andrew Brandt's been saying that for a couple of weeks, even though I think there's a possibility. And that's basically saying you're going to have a mind-blowing offer for us to keep $30 million. Don't see that forthcoming. So there's got to be something that changes between front office, quarterback, and head coach. And everyone is pointing at the head coach right now, fan base included. That's not done just out of nowhere. That's done on purpose. Somebody wants to know that Doug Peterson is unqualified for his job right now. Anyway, that's my takes.
That's so bad.
I mean, you are right. And, it's a Jalen Hurts era. And WIP reported earlier that Jalen Hurts was going to play the rest of the way. So
good. He should. You got to find out you have to start the clock on him because, like everything else, and as I'm pointing out, Kyler Murray, the same thing. An NFL franchise drafted Josh Rosen, said nope, drafted another quarterback that was clearly better, and it just happens that quickly now. Someone did it, so now that's the routine. And what have we been trying to figure out this entire time as a fan base? What do you do post-Super Bowl? Are the Eagles smart enough to not make the mistakes of a Seattle or a Atlanta or things like that where it's going to take you a long way to get back to there? And right. they've done that. They've made the mistake again, even though they said they're not going to. And Howie's not going to go anywhere as many times as we're going to argue for it. And I don't think he should. I think he's got an opportunity to fix this. And I don't know why everybody's mad at him when Jalen Reagor's been held back by its starting quarterback for 11 weeks and the injuries and on and on. And if you don't want to admit that, that's okay. But you're going to see that today. You're going to see why a lot of this offense was being held by the quarterback as much as it might be being held back by Doug Peterson and the rest. Who's going to make it and who's not? I doubt Doug's here, and I don't think Jalen Hurts can save his job.
I was saying a while back, John, and I think Doug lost the locker room a while ago. And Carson should have been benched weeks ago. And,
yep.
You're bringing in Jalen Hurts, you're throwing him right in the fire against the number one defense in the NFL. So, the sky's the limit for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
I think let him come out and start slinging it. What do you got to lose?
Yeah. Michael Sherman, I want to ask you this question. Aren't you so much more thankful right now that we can watch Andy Dalton and the Dallas Cowboys just implode and not Jalen Hurts and the Dallas Cowboys possibly making we don't need to play Dak anymore? That's what I keep coming back to right now.
Absolutely. This is drama extraordinaire, and guess what, Philadelphia? You love it. Whether the Eagles make the playoffs or whether they don't make the playoffs, you out there all love it. So give Jalen Hurts a chance. Let's see what he can do. Carson Wentz had the opportunity to shine on Monday Night Football against the 32nd ranked pass defense against Seattle. And his numbers were inflated a little bit just because of a Hail Mary that Richard Rodgers, the composer, caught the ball at the end of the game. And I know that there were a lot of people who were very disappointed when Doug ended up going for 2, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right? So we're going to see what Jalen Hurts can do for the next 4 weeks. And, maybe he does really well, and it gives the city of Philadelphia and the Eagles the opportunity to have a decision on their mind, whether they're going to keep Wentz and the money that he's making, or use Jalen Hurts for trade bait and trade him to a team like Jacksonville and maybe get a quality second-round pick, build that offensive line. And if they don't come in first place this year, which they're not at this point, they'll play.
Well, who knows? There is my rule is you cannot declare a division winner in the NFC East because you're not allowed. And you have to have a winning record. And anybody else, it's just going to fall into pieces. And I don't think anyone in the NFC East right now wins another game. They're going to have to because there's more divisionals, but outside of divisional games, no one's going to get a leg up. Even right now, are the Cowboys winning or losing to the Bengals? Let's find out. But while we're doing this is first of all, Joey B, thank you so much, brother. That's what I'm talking. Oh, they destroyed them 30-7. Okay, so that's out. But I because this is so crazy here, Angel, back and forth with no direction. That's why I'm just worried. I don't think. Do they have one?
I don't think so.
Is there a plan after this, or do you feel like it's more kind of shooting from the hip?
No, I think that's what it is. More shooting from the hip because Doug has no idea what he wants to do. And obviously a lot of people are calling for Howie to go. But, is Jeffrey Lurie going to step up and say, you know what? All right, we're done. We don't need to do this anymore. Either the experiment's good or it's going to be another talk that it's going to be, Doug, we need to talk for a second. Come here. Let me know what's going on. So, yeah. It's either going to be a screen fest inside their office or someone's going to have to do something to change things around. I just don't see it. If in the same way too, I guess no one's even talked about it this week as much as I listen to all the different stations and everyone else. No one has also said, are they showcasing Jalen Hurts for another team? So if there is a trade potential, because we know the salary cap sucks next year. So it's one of those things that are they showcasing Jalen Hurts in case a team comes calling for Jalen Hurts? So, you can take it either way. And if someone is shopping for Carson Wentz, I don't know how they would be able to do it. I know they would have to put a lot of money. Either they're going to have to pay heavyweight, there's going to be a penalty for it. Who knows? I just don't feel that. I don't believe that Doug wants to quit. I don't believe that Doug wants to get fired. Now, if he does, hey, more power to him. He can go down to Texans or Jets or somewhere else, or even come to Jacksonville, because Jacksonville, as I said from the very beginning, it's a place where you come to retire and die. No offense to Jacksonville Jaguars, but there's nothing moving and shaking. At least the other two teams between the Bucs and the Dolphins, they're moving in that right direction with Bruce Arians and Brian Flores. But when it comes down to Philly, I don't know if Jeffrey Lurie just turns around and says, you know what, I need to count my millions. Oh, wait, there's $1 short. Doug, come here for a second. So, I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know either. But here's where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. You ready? I along with how he's screwing up. Is he screwing up? Because if like we all yelled at, and let's just say someone comes calling about Jalen Hurts instead of Carson Wentz, and this is all just a contrived effort, really, if you're going, okay, Jalen's going to show you at $1.05 million and a second-round investment from this past year, he can be a starter. So let's say he exceeds everyone's expectations. Now you have the New England Patriots that just paid Cam $5 million, and there's this pretty new quarterback where actually secretly we know it's not all Carson Wentz here. Like we know we fucked up Carson. That's been pretty evident. We're going to repair him with a brand new head coach and whatever, Lincoln Riley, et cetera, et cetera. Put whoever you want in there. Now I've got this display of 4 games, just like we're all hyped up from Carson Wentz and like this is his team. He's going to lead it, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, the concussion. And then he's a completely different quarterback the next year. So let's just put it out there. If he plays decent, you're unsure about Carson Wentz. You have to keep him till basically 2020 anyway. Fuji Mike, the New England Patriots call you and say 2 first-round picks, done deal right now. What do you do?
Pull the trigger.
Done, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Done
See
for
you
you.
later.
Sherman, in?
Absolutely.
Angel, you in? 2 first-rounders?
Yeah, first rounders, I would have to give them up.
Okay, 1 first-rounder, in or out?
I'm out.
Same thing. Out? Mr. Sherman?
Oh, no, I'm definitely in.
Still in on 1?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuji Mike?
I definitely need 2 number 1s and something else if you're going to give me something for a quarterback in the NFL, which some of these quarterbacks in the NFL are trash.
Well, that's very much not untrue, but not untrue.
I mean, back in 2009, 2010, they got Dominic Rodgers, Cromartie in the 2nd or 3rd round pick for Kevin Cobb.
Yep.
I mean,
it's there, and look, like there's Jalen Hurts is clean, uninjured, clear up here, and has already been through what Nick Foles has been through and Carson Wentz has been through together in college already happened. So he understands that there's and a coach's son on top of that. Now it all has to line up where he's good. That's the missing component. That he's got to be really, really good to great, and people got to get excited about him. But to everyone that said there's no way you can bring up the value of Jalen Hurts back in April, welcome to the fucking show, because we're about to see an incredible display for 4 or 5 weeks. And yes, did they try to fit them both in so they could get displayed? Yes, and I think that's where the crux of the problem is right now. Doug and Howie don't agree. Doug and Jeffrey don't agree. Maybe even Doug and Carson don't agree on some of the stuff that's going on offensively or the direction of it. It looks a lot like Marty Ball some of the times when Carson Wentz is in there with and it drives me crazy. So
big time.
I think 2 things. I believe everything on this issue is quarterback related. I think Doug, even with his faults, and I'm not saying that there isn't, Jalen Hurts is going to run a cleaner offense for it. His stats are going to look pretty good. People are going to ask about him because Trevor Lawrence and the Jets are pretty much solidified unless they get crazy and start flirting with wins. And then you have a whole brick of quarterbacks outside of Justin Fields. You have not a lot of tape on and not really a real college football season, especially if you're including the Big Ten right now, which is a goddamn mess. And it's not over, but it's going to probably wrap up before you can even figure out a bowl winner, a championship. It's just you don't have any good tape. Jalen Hurts is a better option after those first 2 fall off than probably anybody else, especially if he's got NFL experience and he's ready to go. So I'm not saying any of this is going to happen, but I just want to tell you the optionality that we were all pissed off about in April is now kind of a little bit coming to fruition. And
in my opinion, Jalen Hurts is like a new car off the lot. So as soon as you buy that car, his value depreciates. So if we are able to fleece another team in the NFL for a first-round pick or 2 first-round picks, oh my goodness, I am salivating. And everybody out there, you should be salivating as well. But I guess we'll see what happens. And Hurts is going to have his opportunity to audition now for 4 weeks and see what happens.
I'm sure you can. I mean, for a mediocre quarterback, you can get a king's ransom.
Absolutely. And I don't think quarterbacks, the only thing I'll disagree with Mr. Sherman is I don't think quarterbacks depreciate even in when they're good or bad. They just kind of stay in one pocket. You might get a little less, you might get a little more. Every quarterback kind of does that. But then, there's I can't think of one that actually didn't have any value and a non-starter that didn't have any value at all. So
it's like a left-handed relief pitcher in baseball.
Yes, exactly.
Right. There's a couple comments that come through with Rick, and I want to get it up there because I actually want to post them up there and follow through with it. And of course, Joey B continues to have his comment as well. And I'll show that one here in a minute. The one thing for everyone, because I want people to understand. So if you've missed John on the radio, like majority of us have, and you hear passion and everything else, what you didn't get to see, like I got to see inside the studio, was just this, where you can feel the passion, you can feel the fire. He's bringing the energy. So it is fantastic. So I'm going to ask before I get back to the comments here, and I see you, Ryan, he just came in. John, and this is for you. My thing is, do you think that maybe the Eagles and or another team out there is hungry enough to give Carson Wentz away?
Ooh, in terms of like, do you want like another team wanting the interest level?
Yeah.
Very much so. For the same reason, because someone's going to see that 2017 season go, I can do that again. You know, Frank Reich seems to be one of those guys, and that's been an obvious answer for everyone.
Right.
But those teams, Tampa is probably one of those teams. Denver is probably one of those teams. I would even say at this point, the Minnesota Vikings, who are flirting with either like, I don't even know what the contract is for Cousins, but you're not going to do that again, you know, and they're kind of stupid. So they would obviously like probably give up some protocol for that. Trying to think of like other, as silly as it might sound, this would never happen. But I'm still curious what the Cowboys, you know, in their quarterback situation is. It's not gonna help them. Nor do I see Carson Wentz there. But in a free agent situation, I would absolutely see that because they love them during the draft. So. No, I don't think anyone's going to close the door on Carson Wentz. If they are interested in him, I would say at least 5 to 6 teams without even really thinking about it.
Well, right. I mean, Carson Wentz is only 27 years old. I mean, still has plenty of upside. He's been healthy the last couple of years. Now, It's funny. The Eagles are hurt all around, and Wentz is healthy, where it was opposite a couple of years back. And Wentz has plenty of upside if you want to move him. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's part of it, and he's got to own a lot of this stuff here too.
And ironically, a team that he could go to is the New Orleans Saints. Maybe they decide we're done with Taysom Hill. Maybe they're done with the other quarterback. And can you imagine Carson Wentz playing in New Orleans? That would just be insane.
Oh man, who says he don't go to the Chicago Bears? I mean, Trubisky, they didn't exercise his 5th-year option. Nick Foles, you don't know what the hell they're going to do with him.
Well, and I think they won 30-7 today out of all that too. So strike while Ryan Pace is still the GM.
They beat the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Exactly. Hey guys, I tell you what, I actually have to run too, so I apologize, but I keep crushing it, man. This has been so much fun, and love that you guys are up and live streaming, and we'll see you next Saturday for coaching. Hey.
Yes, sir.
All right, John, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
You got it, guys. LastOutMedia.com, and go follow the Water Boys on Twitter. That's one of the main podcasts I'm working with. They're a bunch of fun. Barcher Cho's on there. That's where you get all my takes. We have a little 6 a.m. coffee post-game show. That's the new life for me. So that's all we're doing here. And keep it going, guys. We really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, John. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, so that was fun, Barton. Thanks for everyone who's tuning in here. We got about 8 minutes or so before the game starts. So thanks to John, thanks and Rick. Sorry that I didn't get into your comments here when I was going to talk to John about it, but I'm still going to bring it up anyways before we get into other things. Where was the original one? I can see it right here. So Rick put down there that there were only so many, and we have to get better. We have to get better excuses before you make a move, because just like where I work, we don't hold a flight because of one person, which is true. And then late Eagles shouldn't keep someone who isn't doing well in that position to ruin it for the rest of the team, which is true as well. And then and especially fans where we watch hoping to win. There's one more here from Rick. Sometimes the smartest people have zero common sense, that is actually true. Ryan, sorry that I didn't get it in as well when he was on, when John was on, but he says this isn't all Carson Wentz's fault. Doug destroyed Wentz. Frank Wright put Wentz in positions to succeed. Now, I will say, Ryan, because we're on right now, when I saw Ryan's picture on his profile, I swore that was the Juru's twin, because I did a double take when I saw the picture. So, Ryan, you guys can actually go for brothers. So, Joey B, of course, with the comments kill me here. So Joey B says, I just pulled into Wawa with my 79 Pinto Fuji. You need a 12-pack or some wings?
Sure. Can you personally deliver them to me too? Or Sent him by what the hell is it?
Oh my! Hold on here. I lost a video, but I got to bring it back. So give me a second as the cat is on the screen here. So guys, give me a second. Talks here amongst yourself for a moment.
Well, I know we're running a little bit short on time before the game, so I'm going to make my prediction that the Eagles are going to win today 20-19. The Saints are playing their third game in a row on the road. They might be looking ahead to Kansas City, and maybe this team is a little bit energized with Jalen Hurts at the helm.
I'll beg to differ. I'm going to say Saints 30, Eagles 10. I hope Jalen Hurts comes out and flourishes. I think this team will be more upbeat within the last every game this year. But, this team has to come out and play 60 minutes of football, which they haven't done all year at all. Not even one 60-minute game. Now bring it today with Jalen Hurts. Get that offensive line intact and kick some ass.
And find a way to stop the run, right? So the New Orleans Saints, they can run the ball, and the Philadelphia Eagles, they can't stop the run. And I just want to put a shout out there to my Aunt Kim, because I did put something on Facebook on Thursday with the predicted score of the Rams-Patriots game, and she had 28-6, and she was the one who was closest with the score. So shout out to Aunt Kim. Well done there, and thank you for commenting on that post. But back to this game in 5 minutes. Mike, what do you look for in the game? What do you think the Saints are going to do? What do you think the Eagles are going to do?
I think the Eagles just got to come out and play smart football. I mean, you got a new Jalen Hurts' upside is, the ceiling, and I think the Eagles will come to play today, but I don't think they're going to be able to hang with New Orleans at all.
Well, I guess we'll see. Look, last week in Green Bay, the Eagles took the first drive and went 7.5 minutes and only came away with 3 points instead of 7. But I think everybody in the Philadelphia area thought, hey, just like last year when the Eagles went into Green Bay and they found a way to win the game, maybe they're going to do it again. And then just unfortunately everything imploded. And it all lives and dies with that offensive line. And if there's not a good offensive line to protect Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Ben Roethlisberger, or whoever you want it to be, right, that quarterback is going to be in trouble. And the Eagles' offensive line right now is a problem. Hopefully they can find a way to create some turnovers, because Taysom Hill has not been great with the ball, and we'll see what happens.
Well, if they can get in the backfield and knock Taysom Hill, maybe they'll knock him the hell out. I mean, you got to shut down Kamara, Latavius Murray, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook. I mean, talking about a fast-track offense here. Without Drew Brees, who knows what could happen today. But you're going up, Jalen Hurts is going up against the number one defense in football. Cameron Jordan. Malcolm Jenkins is coming back with vengeance. I'm sure he wants to send a statement today. And like I said, I think Saints win the game 30-10.
Okay.
So,
okay, yeah. I mean, that's
I want to squeeze in as many comments as you possibly can. I'm sorry, say it again, Sherman.
No, Fuji has them at 30-10 Saints. I have them at 20-19 Eagles. I know that we're a little bit less than 3 minutes away from kickoff, so just want to put those predictions out there.
Ryan Neff says Chiefs 12-1. So I guess they knocked off the Miami Dolphins today.
Yeah, they took a little while to get out of the game.
I think it's a tough game, obviously, today, because I know Jalen Hurts wants to come out on top. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, too, I think the Eagles want to finally stop this skid, as they're still in the hunt, believe it or not, to still win the division. As I would love to see an Eagles victory. I still think that, unfortunately, the Saints squeeze it out 23-21. And I think the Eagles hold on to the game at least for the good portion of it. And then at the very end, they just end up blowing it by just a stupid penalty mistake that we've seen before. So that's the way I see it. I want to get a couple comments here before, of course, we get off. Is Ryan Neff says Hurts isn't the answer either. O-line stinks, mediocre receivers. Our defense is okay. Sanders doesn't get the ball enough. Want me to go on? Peterson is clueless. Roseman is a douche. Johnny,
I agree to that.
Johnny, the best here. David says, great talk with Johnny. The professor loved those headphones. David says the Juru. Ryan with I'm the BLG Junior. And as you said before, Saints called it 30, or Ryan said 31-13. Joey B, the professor, needs to tweak his microphone for sure a little bit. And Chiefs 12-1, my friends. Great show, guys. Always, Tom. Thank you so much. And Rick, of course, all you guys that continue to contribute to the show. We do appreciate it. We never forget you guys. Also, over under and beers for Fuji. Bellagio line plus -9.5%. And Ryan says tough spot for Hurts to come into.
Joey B, send me some wings and beer through Grubhub. I'll get you when we keep climbing up the ladder, and I'll get you at the bar.
Now, because they weren't mentioned yet, and I want to make sure I get a plug in there for these guys because, of course, they are the actual official sponsors of the show. Tampa Joe's the official sponsor of Broad Street Style Sports Talk. And we were talking about earlier as far as who was hungry. What I was trying to insert there real quick was Tampa Joe's is hungry for Carson Wentz to come down and eat dinner with them. So thank you to Tampa Joe's, of course, because they are with us all the time, every additional week. Thank you to the people that are watching it live on Tampa Joe's page. I appreciate all the new people that are coming in. I see one more coming in as well. Also, along with For the Bay Clothing Company, we can't forget about For the Bay. Allison just had a birthday this past weekend, so happy birthday to Allison and Dave as well. For the Bay Clothing Company, you guys can reach out to them at forthebayclothingco.com, and you can watch and look at all their merchandise. I have actually a shirt from their collection, which is right here, the Tampa Bay shirt that has a Ray in it because they can't show, of course, MLB products, but it's a beautiful shirt, great quality material. It's not stuff that you buy at the Ham and Egger store. This is stuff that's actually quality material that you can wash it over and over again. The ink does not come off. They got a great artist they work with. So thanks to them as well. And, of course, Last Out Media for John coming on, taking his time. I know he was busy. I know he had other things going on as well. And, of course, for Gregg Murphy that came on with us, the Murph, fantastic. So, great show, you guys, this weekend. It was an action-packed weekend. Of course, we'll be with you guys back at the half. I see it's 4:26. I know the game's probably getting underway here. 2 comments that are coming in real quick. Says, once again, Joey B, Fuji, love you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Great show, guys. Enjoy the game. Thank you to Joey.
Thank you.
Also to Dave, to Rick. I saw also from Who Dat Nation. I just saw it not too long ago. Where was he? From Who Dat Nation. I missed it. Mark Betty, I know he had. Oh, Mark Betty also, he said at halftime, my boy with the green shirt said there's no way they put Hurts in. Like 5 minutes later, Hurts was a starter, LOL. And yeah, we talked about it off air. So yeah, you're right, Mark. He did mention
Absolutely. Absolutely. I said it and I manned up. And on our show yesterday, I believe that I made mention of that. And Hurts is now the starter. So we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, that is so true. And then, of course, Kendrick Williams. I was trying to remember. Kendrick, thank you for tuning in today. I did see Kendrick was on with us as well yesterday, along with TJ Jones from State of the Saints podcast. So, and TJ not only did he come on our show, then he went on his own show for an additional hour, and it was like he never missed a beat. So thank you, TJ, as well, and Who Dat Nation that tuned in yesterday. Thank you guys also for subscribing. We really do appreciate it. I can't say enough, you guys. Obviously, it goes without saying. Dave says Ham and Egger store. Yes. So thank you guys for tuning in. And I know I've been saying it. I'm going to say it again. We need everyone who follows here on Facebook to make the switch over as well and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can click on the link and you guys can get on there as well. So subscribe to it because it will be moved over from Facebook to YouTube, and it's going to be coming on very shortly for that switch. So we do appreciate, though, everyone that's coming on to view the show. One more in there says, the Juru man's up, yes, which he did yesterday as well. So, listen, thank you guys. We will see everyone back here at the half. We do appreciate everyone tuning in. For John Barchard, Gregg Murphy, TJ, also Mark Grody, of course, the ESPN 670 The Score. Thanks to him as well. To my guys, I thank you guys and love you so much. And one more. It says YouTube feed rocks. We do appreciate Joey B. And Joey B, thank you. Keep bringing them on. So we will see everyone here at the half. I don't know if you guys have any final words. Other than that, we'll see everyone here at the half.
Enjoy the game.
Saints just won 3 and out, and Jalen Hurts is coming in.
All right. So
Jalen Hurts is going to work.
See you at the half.
Good bird.
Everybody at the half.